right now for an organization to take a leadership seat in that. And I think that's going to intensify with your players like your IBMs, your Googles, your NVIDIAs of the world, who are going to want to make sure that they get to carve their name in the sand, if you will, for proving the most massively transformational application for quantum computing.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, or for the people who have been joining this show, we all know this. This is the part when we bring some of the exciting guests from the community. And today we have an extremely special topic because not many people would know what quantum is about. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. And just from the logistics perspective, if you have not checked out our previous episode, we have covered a lot of different grounds, as they relate to enterprise software, digital transformation, and we have the show every Friday between 8 to 11 a.m. Eastern, depending upon the time zone and the availability of the guests. So on that note, I am going to quickly hand over to my special guest, Kieran, who's super knowledgeable on quantum. Kieran, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, sure. Well, Sam, let me start by thanking you for having me this morning. And before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to congratulate you and Elevate IQ on your recently being recognized as one of the fastest growing companies. It's a huge feat and an even bigger feather to put in my hat for joining you today. For the audience, I'm the founder and principal consultant for the Blank Slate Group, where I specialize in driving strategic growth and human-centered innovation to deliver measurable business and social impact. And so my work has spanned across academics, government, and enterprise, collaborating with leading organizations like NVIDIA, CompTIA, and IBM, to name a few. Most recently, I had the privilege of leading a $7 million state investment in the state of Missouri to accelerate IT training and address some critical challenges in workforce innovation, new market expansion, and economic mobility. And I am honored to also share that I was recently selected for the Aspen Institute's Education and Career Mobility Fellowship.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Really allowing me to further advance and contribute to innovation solutions for workforce development and economic mobility. So in short, I really bring a strong multidisciplinary perspective and cross-sector expertise to help organizations enhance their innovation capacity, create sustainable solutions, and really capitalize on untapped opportunities. And so that's a high-level overview of who I am in the room and why I'm excited to dive into my latest fascination, quantum.
Yeah, and we are definitely going to peel a lot of layers there. Quantum is a very, very interesting topic, and everybody wants to know, what is going to happen right now. AI is super hot, and some people may have missed the bus because they did not foresee, right, 10 years back how AI is going to be powerful. But obviously, it's becoming extremely powerful, and that's how quantum is going to be. I don't know, maybe 5 years, 10 years. I don't know the timeline, but it's definitely coming. So, thank you so much for that. Before we do that, we have one of the standard questions that we ask. So let's get that out of our way first. And that is going to be your personal perspective on business growth.
Sure. An area that I give a lot of attention to with client partners. So I think that growth is really not just about getting bigger or scaling operationally. It's about getting stronger and deepening your foundation and being very crystal clear on who you are and what you stand for, so that your target audience who needs to find you can find you, and in turn you can better serve their needs with context and through a more humanized lens. And so as businesses, I think, continue to navigate this complex environment of evergreen technologies and the new shiny thing that keeps popping up, we really have to understand that growth and how we stay true to our core values is really going to help our audiences again want to stay true and loyal to us. And again, going back to understanding that consequence of saying yes to every shiny app that's in the marketplace, authenticity and a clear identity really helps organizations build that trust and that lasting relationships that they're looking for. And I think it was a research report I came past by Harvard Business Review. They said the companies with a high net promoter score and brand loyalty grow their revenues 2.5 times more than their industry peers. And so I think an great example is Apple, who serves an
Yeah.
incredible example of having maintained customer loyalty rates above 90% over the last 3 years. And in my article, to kind of kick this conversation off, the power of quantum thinking shaping the future of economic success, I do kind of touch a bit on how businesses must be more agile and rooted,
Yeah.
much like the particles and the quantum mechanics existed in multiple states.
Yeah.
Leaders have to strike a balance again between growth and identity simultaneously without losing sight of either. And so I think knowing who you are and really avoiding these distractions enables a clearer path to sustainable strategic growth. And so, yeah, I think that's something that I think every leader should be super conscious of as this, again, as these new inroads and inflows of new information come down pipelines. Make sure that you know who you are as it shows up and what those use cases mean for you and your organization.
Could not agree more. I think there's so much change happening, and every organization sort of needs to know where what they need to do to make sure that they are going to take advantage of these opportunities. So before we do that, I'm going to speak to my audience. I guess, audience, if you have any sort of questions, stories, make sure you guys post them. We always like to sort of create this three-way conversation. That's always fun. We are looking to hear your experiences as well. If you have any sort of perspective in terms of where quantum is going to be, we would love to hear that in the comment. So now, Kieran, coming back to you, so on quantum, I guess, and I don't know whether you have heard the UN speech recently of President Biden, and he mentioned obviously there are a lot of crazy things happening in the world right now. But two things that he mentioned that were sort of priority for everybody. Obviously, artificial intelligence. Everybody knows about it. That is not a surprise anymore. But the second thing that was mentioned is quantum, which is kind of a surprise. So government is actually recognizing quantum, to be completely honest. So now, question to you is, why is quantum so hot that even governments are recognizing, and show us, let's say, the business translation side of things. You mentioned the brand loyalty, etc. I think that's what this podcast is all about. It's not about the technology, it's about what we are going to do with the technology, I guess. So maybe talk about that a little bit. Why is quantum so hot? Why it matters?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, I think like any other wave of kind of gold rush experience globally, this is a race for quantum dominance.
Yeah.
This is a race for economic leadership. This is a race for thought leadership. And so our government, I saw that I think it was back in 2018, there was a national quantum initiative where there was a $1.2 billion investment made in it. And so I think that what is making this so critical and core is that we understand that there are some serious implications for privacy and security for sensitive records across our government. And so we are not on the front lines of building the proper encryptions, the proper protocol. We stand at risk of having, national leaders who are doubling down their market share in this space and their investment in research, being able to eat our lunch, if you will. And so I was looking up this. I was kind of tickled by it. There was a YouTuber who referenced this influx of quantum technology is Q Day, and Q Day being the day when quantum computers are able to crack again our encryptions we use today, with some and all of which again has those severe consequences for privacy and security. And so I think that this, when you think about the power and the economic magnitude of the space as well, it becomes even more attractive. There are over 30 governments right now they have committed more than $40 billion to R&D and deployment of quantum technology over the next 10 years. So I think that lets us know a couple of things. It isn't going anywhere. It's something that I'd imagine has some serious implications for military intelligence as
Yeah.
well. And it's something that we have to keep our eyes on. As we think about also like some of the disruption in our supply chains
Yeah.
internationally, um, having access to having a clear understanding and use cases for this quantum technology, it has some serious implications for some areas like pharmaceutics,
Yeah.
for advanced manufacturing as well, for diversifying material composition.
Yeah.
And I'm doing some digging to get a little bit more intelligent on it,
Yeah.
but it looks like also climate equity is also showing up as another area where this can have some serious implications. And so I'll kind of toss it back to you there to kind of get a feel for, if you did watch the UN, kind of what stood out to you right now. Where do you see there being some dots connected and where we are currently and what this influx could mean?
Yeah, so there's so much to unpack there, I guess, whatever comments that you mentioned, and I don't know how much my audience is going to know these things, right? So obviously we need to translate that a little bit. So I'm going to ask some clarifying questions there, right? So let's say climate equity, and, how would you define that? Is that going to be for the government? Is that going to be for business? Do you know how that works and how that is going to be impacted, I guess?
Um, my high level understanding is that it will help with improving the measuring and temperature changes across the globe to
Okay,
support with different
makes
um,
sense.
yeah, exponential solutions that we need to be deploying. So accelerated climate modeling
Yeah,
and predictions, different computers that can help us get better precision
yeah,
and like some jet fuel, if you will, compared to classic computers, so that we can really understand like and how to respond to vulnerable regions. So
yeah.
we can allow for some targeted interventions, some place-based strategies, and really some equitable distributions of resources in areas that need it most. I think of regions like Greater New Orleans. I think of Florida. I think of some of our other like hurricane zones and what it can mean to have this type of technology in place if we could even know that it's coming even sooner
Yeah.
and allocate resources to or some type of provisions against weather to slow down their impact so that we don't have these type of costly disasters that we've experienced seem like every per annum.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to rehash some things from my understanding perspective, and maybe you can provide some more insights there. If your understanding is aligned, So, and by the way, one of the episodes that we had done recently was with, I believe, Brian Jackson from Infotech Research.
Hmm.
And he spoke about these trends as well. They are big on quantum because they work with a lot of CIOs, and CIOs are trying to figure out, okay, how to take advantage of this. And they did have a mention of Q-Day, so we are going to talk about that. But before we get there, I guess the overall foundational understanding, what I could understand from that episode, and guys, if you have not heard that episode, go check that out. Fascinating episode, okay? So my understanding from the episode is that okay, the fundamental premise of the technology is going to be faster. The traditional computing was all ones and zeros. Now you are going to have a lot more bits there, but the main challenge that we have is really the accuracy of the technology, and that's why it's not mainstream. That's why it is not adopted. But with AI, we require a lot more processing capabilities. Especially, I believe the multi-threading is going to be possible with quantum, but I guess the challenge is always the accuracy. I guess that's why people are not sure, how to basically bring that mainstream. So, is that your understanding as well? And that's the reason why for example, let's say things like climate modeling is going to be far easier. Things like your pharmaceutical research that you mentioned. Obviously with AI, it's going to be easier, but now we are looking at for AI, you need a lot more energy, you need a lot more processing capacity because we have increased the demand now. So that's where I guess quantum is going to help in my mind. Do you share the same understanding?
Yeah, I do, and I think that when you because I was on a project not long a couple of years ago about where we're talking about like the energy grids, and
Yeah,
immediately start thinking about some of the energy requirements to really run this. Like, do we have and the cost that it would take to cool these systems down and manage them, and then even what that migration process is going to look like from content on traditional systems to this quantum technology. Because again, classic computers relying on a ton of binary insights. And this is really what I think is most exciting about quantum is that it's that unique gray area that we haven't got to play in very much. We've had to play, like you said, in ones and zeros, and this right now is giving us an opportunity to explore some other permutations, some unusual patterns of of numbers, of materials, so that we can better, I'm going to say, strategize, and I'm going to say deploy more diverse and personalized solutions to solve in a manner and at a speed and rate and pace that we haven't got to experience most recently. And so what I got excited about when I was writing the article again was when I was reading about how this is being leveraged by a company. I believe it was called um, Polaris. I don't know if I'm saying
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
properly, but they're using quantum computer right now to drastically speed up their overall drug discovery. Right now, like what was taking them millions and in months and years to test out different vaccines or solutions, they're able to do it in minutes in some cases now with
Yeah.
this new technology at their fingertips. Um, and so I'll pause there because immediately I'm thinking of other industries where this, like I'm thinking of finance and what this can
Yeah.
mean. Already we think about like what's happening with crypto and
Yeah.
its dependency on this technology as well. But I think it's just something that yeah, it's the slow motion I think also can sometimes be steered from industries like that fear place where you operate from of like what does standardization look like?
Yeah.
What does cost look like?
Yeah.
Is this that thing is this that glimmer that's popping up for a short while, or is this something that I can demonstrate and build a business case for that it's going
Yeah.
to be it's going to shore up our competitive advantage
Yeah.
and our ability to compete more aggressively on a global scale.
Yeah, could not agree more. And I think, I don't know what's that timeline, and nobody knows the timeline, to be completely honest, when they will be able to demonstrate that. But obviously, it's going to be the same gold rush that we are seeing right now. With AI, that investors are going to go crazy. They are going to pour money, and then, all of a sudden, it becomes hot, right?
But I think that this one has a little bit more of I think that what's interesting. I mean, when I think of artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
I think that what we're moving into now is this convergence of humans and machines.
Yeah.
And so any way that we're able to do it faster, quicker, get a different perspective at the table, I think is going to be really, really crucial. And so I think of what this can mean for advancing or increasing focused real world simulations,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to double down or the power of like digital twins
Yeah.
in this new quantum space and what it can mean before I go and pour and dump millions into a solution that we built in a vacuum.
Yeah.
How can we more adequately and efficiently test this out? How can we put this through enough simulations that we almost have a 99% confidence level
Yeah.
that when we deploy this that we're going to see our intended results and even some unexpected ones by the multiples.
Yeah.
I think that's what. So I see this as being that thing that really has a chance to. I see quantum. The quantum. I'm saying I've been using the term human-centered, quantum-inspired
Yeah.
solutions,
Yeah.
being able to really put their flag in the sand to be here for the long haul.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I guess let's go back to some more things that you had in your comment. Q-Day being one, and if you want to touch on anything else, from that, because the audience is probably not going to know everything. So I mean, it's still at a very elementary level when it comes to our understanding of quantum, right? So we need to make sure we are being slightly gentle with them, I guess, right? So now going to Q-Day, and my understanding of Q-Day is that the traditional encryption algorithm that we have, that is probably going to break, and it's going to be a very similar phenomena as your Y2K, because the encryptions that we have in the market, there are always sort of the fundamental assumptions with every single model, and that is something most people don't understand. That any computing systems, any computing models, any software systems, they are designed with a lot of assumptions in mind, even though a lot of people might feel that, you know what, infinite scalability. That's not how this world works. Right? You're never going to have infinite scalability of any system. So there are always going to be assumptions, and those assumptions break when you are changing the fundamental assumption. And with Q-Day, I guess the fundamental assumption is the whole encryption, right? So maybe talk a little bit more about that. How big is the risk? Is that the risk that is holding companies to think about quantum, that they don't want to release? And they want to prepare first that, okay, they are not going to break the world, they are not going to break the economy, otherwise nobody's going to invest in it, I guess. So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, the investment confidence is actually up. I mean, despite a 50% drop in overall tech
Yeah,
investments, quantum computing actually attracted 1.2 billion of venture capital in 2023.
yeah,
And so there's a strong promise there, or at least that's what people in those seats see. And so, in response to that, I think it really boils down to three core things, and
yeah,
that is, are they aware enough? Can they see this as being
yeah,
applicable across their organization?
yeah,
Are they educated enough? Have they really got a chance to get their hands dirty with this? And then I'm going to use another one. So, like, are they ready to enroll or really to subscribe to this concept?
yeah,
I think it's important to note too that, like I'm just referencing the law of diminishing demand here
yeah,
quickly. Like, there has been a wave that we have not been able to recover from of new technologies, and know
yeah,
this now or you're going to be jobless. Know this now or it's going to cost you this amount. And so I think we also want to be super cognizant of that as you think about the um, maybe the inflexibility in some cases, or even the learning curves that exist across organizations
yeah,
that don't focus or that don't primarily have a strong technical acumen across the workforce,
yeah,
or organizations that don't have a strong reliance on technology for problem solving. And so where I think you have no choice but to give for this to give way is in those high demand, um, high growth spaces like, again, pharmaceutics and healthcare and bioscience, where we're always going to need, where we're continuously trying to understand how we can, again, do it quicker. The potential right now, last time I did some research on this across the space, was that sectors like, again, pharmaceutics,
yeah,
chemicals, automotive, and finance, um, there there could be some use cases that could be between 300 billion and seven
yeah,
hundred billion by 2040. So I think it's also about, like, when is the right time to
yeah,
break into the space? Um, we know that good old bell curve about our early adopters. I think those industries I mentioned are going to be the first to break to kind of break that ground. But we need to get out there. What we want to experience is just um, a few more solid cases of how this makes sense for me. And so I know that there are some, like, major leaders like IBM and Google are really leading the charge right now, and their level of investment is sending the message that they're moving this from something that's theoretical to being very practical across their businesses. And I think that's just aligned with their mission of always staying along the bleeding edge of this work. And so
yeah,
I think about that piece touched on with that the quantum principle of entanglement. And in the article, I noted that it's about how actions in one part of a system
yeah.
influence that of another. And so I think that this right now is also reflecting that. And I've been nerding out on quantum stuff, so pardon me, audience. But that was a really exciting.
This is what we want from this episode. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No, listen, like, I've been nerding out. So there was a 1937 experiment. I think it was called Schroeder's cat, where the cat was observed as being both dead and alive. And kind of mirroring that, I've thought about our ecosystem, our workforce ecosystem, kind of mirroring that, this paradox of being prepared and unprepared. And so I think that's kind of what you're speaking to. You asked the question of, where is the resistance at? I
Yeah,
think there's this, when you think about some of the recent announcements about um, investments being tightened up, or even more of, like, our economy being more reliant on these coalitions or ecosystem based partnerships, you have organizations holding their capital stack a little bit closer to chest. And so you're wanting to see who wins first. Is this a game I want to play? Is this one I'm
yeah,
even going to be good at?
yeah,
And so I think that that's what's. And so again, these while these trends are not like our distant future. There was a Forbes report that said Q Day is coming 2025.
Yeah.
So that's a little. It's
Not happening in 2020.
uh,
It's too early, I guess.
I don't know, man. I mean, we don't. I mean, again, when you start talking about the type of research and
Yeah.
investment that's gone into it,
Yeah.
I think that where there may be dramas is that this quantum has yet to prove itself to be fault proof. And so maybe that won't that and I thought there's still a race right now for an organization to take a leadership seat in that. And I think that's going to intensify with your players like your IBMs, your Googles, your Nvidias of the world, who are going to want to make sure that they get to carve their name in the sand, if you will,
Yeah.
for proving the most massively transformational application for quantum computing. And so I think that current systems and use cases might not be able to fully leverage it, but I would certainly say that I think Q Day could be here, even if it's in the most minute, incremental kind of way. I think we're going to feel it sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't want Q-Day in 2025, okay? We are hardly recovered from COVID, from 2020. We cannot afford to take any more hits right now.
No, you're right. I mean, we only when I talk about it, Open AI shook the world. What was that? January of 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're right. I mean, and I think that right now there is through my lens, I'm always thinking about like
Yeah,
workforce.
yeah.
I'm always thinking about, there's as demand for this grows, what does that feel like on the supply side for our professionals who are still trying to catch their breath from learning about large language models and computer vision and these other technologies that are expected to scale and disrupt and reimagine industries. So
Yeah.
to your point, we can't take another hit.
No, but I mean, I completely agree with you that, I mean, we need to sense these risks, right? I mean, because they could be substantial for the economy, for the community, for the whole world, I guess. So I'm glad that at least somebody is thinking about it, right? And right now, I guess the biggest problem is, whether in 2025 we are going to have recession or not. I think that's something that everybody wants to predict, and hopefully quantum can help with that.
Yeah. I mean, we already got to experience a little bit of crypto, like with the noise with Bitcoin and stuff, and so we can't dismiss the fact that there's a quantum security
Yeah.
element to that already. So I guess it's kind of say like we've kind of experienced like Q Day Junior already.
Q-Day Junior, I like it a lot. I can take junior, okay? I can take junior. Junior is far better, okay? No senior, please.
No senior. We're not ready for the granddaddy version yet.
Give me surprises in chunks, I can handle those.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Okay, so I guess let's talk about the funding. And, it's always interesting to understand, who's funding, what their interests are. Because, look, somebody is investing money and there is some seriousness to it, right? So that's what my personal goal is. And obviously, to your comment, when this is going to become mainstream, any investors, as I know, anybody who has any amount of money, they all are very hungry and greedy to become greedy. And that's a good thing, right? No, I'm really speaking from the positive perspective, to be completely honest, right? See, any investors, I mean, if they're going to sense any opportunity, I mean, they're probably going to invest in that. Right now, they just don't have confidence for whatever reason. I mean, it could be their own barriers or, but let's say 1.2 billion. So governments are competing for this as well, right? Because I think I was reading the news. I don't know which country, they are slightly ahead in quantum. I don't know if US is ahead right now, but you want to make sure that every country is sort of competing for that pie, that. And so I don't know if governments are really investing in this. Where is that 1.2 billion dollar coming in? Which research? And my assumption is going to be that the whole 1.2 is coming from government right now, and that is probably going to be, these are going to be research dollars, because right now it must be in the research phase, not really in the commercial phase right now. That would be my. So maybe talk about what are these groups, what are they trying to figure out, what are their interests. And I know that there's a lot of interest from the not-for-profit and underserved communities as well, because there are going to be real problems that this technology can solve. So talk about the funding, which groups are funding, and which are the stakeholders that are really driving the interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the country that you were alluding to, because this is if I'm citing the Reuters, the Reuters report I read not long ago, it was China. They have already, they've invested, I think it was about 13.3 billion
Yeah,
in research and different deployment. And the UE has a flagship program that they rolled out where they're doing about 1 billion euros over the next 10 years. And so the 1.2 I cited was actually from private investors. And so I think that their interest really is just in primarily just in first mover advantage,
yeah,
truthfully, and wanting to be at the table for the rewards of being an early investor is my thoughts for why private investors are in it. Obviously, for our governments to pour into this, again, it's really to make sure that they're on the bleeding edge and at the front of this global race for AI and quantum dominance. I think that whoever figures it out first will set the tone and will lead the world for the next 50 to 100 years is what I would like to think. As it currently stands, I think that right now what becomes a little bit more interesting too is that there is a interesting. Let me take a step back. When you start talking about interest and you start dividing these stakeholders
yeah,
up,
yeah,
I think I'm going to break this down in a couple of categories. I want to say the obviously again that political interest really
yeah,
boils down to government to dominance of first mover advantage.
yeah,
The economics right now surrounding quantum is also quite sizable and very impressive, and it's enough to want to get involved in. It was between 350 billion and 800 billion for what it can mean for economies that are able to get this right. What I think the next piece of it is the social piece of it all. And so when you start thinking about organizations, oh, not organizations, you start thinking about communities and that are already vulnerable, who are already experiencing displacement from a post-COVID world and the influx of artificial intelligence, and then now this brewing interest in quantum. Our governments have to double down on that investment because of just the national security challenges that it overall presents. And you ask yourself the question: if people can't make money, how do they survive? So there was also a responsibility of our government to make sure that that our workforce is composed of talent that can actually fill some of these roles. So I'd like to think that is my high level riff of kind of like why that is also of a top priority. I think I might have touched on this a little bit earlier, but the global investment right
yeah,
now from some of these government is expected to exceed 20 billion by 2025. Again, with IBM and Google really leading that charge. And so what makes me get excited about players like that being a part of the conversation is I had the privilege of working with IBM Skills Build not long ago, and I know that they are on the cutting, I would say the cutting edge again
yeah,
of rolling out content curriculum in a modulated manner to make sure that at a bare minimum you have a very high level understanding of what this is going of how this industry, this space, this discipline will influence your work, the type of skills that you're going to need to
yeah,
acquire, and what this means for you in your day to day. Which I think right now, like to your earlier point, we need those spoonfuls.
yeah.
Keep us operating in quantum junior right now. Now,
I like it a lot.
again, as this continues to grow and to progress, though, I think that as we look at like fields like advanced manufacturing that are reshoring rapidly, where semiconductor production through like the Build Back Better investment and
Yeah,
CHIPS Act are really getting some strong interest in investment. Again, the question asked: here's the opportunity. Where are the people?
yeah,
Where are the people that are going to fill those jobs? Who are the people that are going to be able to carry this torch forward? And so I think of this through what I always say like this: I call it a crawl, walk, run kind of
yeah,
playbook. And so right now the crawl phase is again quantum junior. Now what does walking look like? Walking looks like having actual quantum practitioners among us.
Yeah.
Walking looks like this moving from beyond just simply R&D investment, and with it really being quantum enabled startups that are showing up around us, where there is place based quantum use cases where places like St. Louis, where I'm headquartered, can understand what this means for our ecosystem, for our economy, where there's a deeper investment in data centers, so that we have central repositories that we can protect
Yeah.
data and ensure that privacy and security is top of mind as this information becomes more vulnerable to again this jetpack technology. And then if we were to get into the run phase, everybody's winning. Economic prosperity, everybody has some type of skin in the game.
Yeah.
You have some type of I don't know, equity stake or play in this. Ideally, we're all thinking like investors because there's enough going around for everyone to play. We
Yeah.
have high compensated roles. We've understood what this means to its application beyond logistics and healthcare and finance, and it's influencing or inspiring the way that we even handle customer service or customer experience
Yeah.
innovation. I think about finance. I actually worked for USAA intern for USAA a few years ago, and I remember that was one of the core priorities was knowing the customer, making sure again that we were able to quickly reveal things about them that would help us engage them with again that context and that humanized touch, so that they would understand that their needs were their problems were our problems, and that we were there to solve them. And so I'd imagine quantum technology's ability to quickly assess and extract information from multiple data sets will give you a more holistic view of your target client, your target customer, to again increase their market share, increase that interest, build that loyalty, build that trust, and then more than anything, future proof your practice. So I'll pause there and throw it back to you on that one.
Yeah, no, this is very interesting. I absolutely loved everything that you said. So let's go back to some of the layers that you want to unpack, right? So quantum practitioner, that sounds like a great career. I mean, I would love to change that, to be completely honest. Seems like there is going to be some money there. As we all know, in 2024, there is not a lot of money in a lot of careers. So I'm
Listen,
definitely
listen.
so let's say, if you want to be a quantum practitioner, if people are aspiring to be a quantum practitioner, what do they need to build? What are going to be the skill set? What are going to be their responsibilities? And again, I mean, nobody knows what this person is going to be because you're trying to forecast. So you don't need to be right. But I mean, maybe forecast, I mean, what this person is going to be, what kind of things that they need to be thinking right now to be able to develop those skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, at a minimum, I think you should have some type of engineering mindset or
Yeah.
perspective. Quantum is about unique algorithms, and so you're going to want to be clear on optimization, simulation, and cryptography. I think at a bare minimum, I think if you really want to stand out in this world with that role, again, I think it's going taking that human-centered, quantum-inspired approach that I mentioned earlier, where you're very clear on industry-specific applications and ways that this could transform businesses to help them unlock more bottom line, to help them break into to new markets, and also just to fully optimize the practice fundamentally. I think that also there is a hardware element of this. So being a little bit more clear on like the uh, um, the infrastructure of a quantum computer, and knowing how to fix it. I'd imagine like if I could today, I would just open up a quantum shop, like people like fix your cell phone glass and just have it just waiting ready for Q day. You don't need me now, but I'm here.
Q day, get in the line, get in the line.
In the mind, trust
Too
me.
many people here.
Exactly. And then I guess like, just from my like kind of scraping of the web, it seemed like what can also set a person up in this or up and apart from the space, um, is having a strong understand a deep knowledge of material
Yeah.
science. So under because again, this quantum physics and all of this ways to I'm thinking about this acceleration of like pharmaceutics and drug
Yeah,
discovery, being able to know how to look at that information and know what to do with it,
yeah,
knowing how to evolve it, knowing the different the best use cases, the best use situations for it, again, can really set you up and apart. And MIT right now is an institution that seems to be on the front lines of quite a bit of this. So I would say, I mean, I know that I'm personally scraping Coursera, Udemy, and a couple of other sites right now just to kind of get my foot in a little bit deeper in the space. And then lastly, absolutely lastly here, I think to what's because of the broad application that this technology is going to offer. I think again, kind of going back to my earlier point of knowing how and where your expertise is, your domain expertise is really starting to think about how you can translate your existing experience into this quantum world. I think that can also really set you up and apart, which is why I'm sinking my teeth into that. I'm 14 years in the game for human centered research and design. So when I say human centered
yeah.
and I say quantum inspired, this is me bleeding these worlds together so that at all times I'm thinking about some of those principles that have guided my work and now how these can collapse into or cooperate alongside these principles of quantum and some of its broader use cases. So I'll pause there. I know I gave you a mouthful, so we'd love to hear your thoughts as well on that.
No, this is very interesting, and I'm already feeling that I'm already behind because these crypto guys are going to have edge here. Okay, everybody has some sort of edge.
Yeah.
They already know this, and I mean, they are probably going to be able to pick up these skills faster, than me applying for it. Man, I've already lost it.
Listen, I've actually I just signed up for it. It's IBM's. I think it's called. I'm gonna pronounce it properly. The Quiz Kit.
Quiz
Um,
kit, okay?
yeah. QISKIT, and it's
Hmm.
a environment where you can kind of play around or get a familiar with. Now, I've been scared because I'm like, I know quantum requires a lot of power. I'm not going to crash my laptop, but I just wanted to kind of get a taste and teaser of like it's of what it actually does. Like, what does this look like? Like, if I am, on whenever Q day hits, how will I
Yeah,
know what's here? I want to get my hands a little dirty there. And then also, I know Microsoft has a quantum development kit
yeah.
as well that I haven't got a chance to toy around with. But I would encourage anyone to just kind of look around for like some sandbox environments, just to kind of get a feel for like what it can look like and how does this make sense for my industry. I think the good news, and it kind of, I'm looking at, I'm thinking about those people who got ahead of large language modeling
Yeah.
and computer vision some time ago. A partner of mine, we were talking yesterday or the day before, and he was sharing with me
Yeah.
this client project he worked on, and it looked like a real like living room setting. He said, no, we actually used artificial intelligence to construct that entire environment. He was like that is the way forward. And so again, kind of taking that dial back to asking yourself if you want to be a practitioner, if you want to future proof your career, there's no better time than now to really dip your toe in the water and get get it wrong. Get it wrong a lot of times. Like nobody knows the right answer in the space right now. It's in such a nascent state that you really have a chance to again get that first mover advantage or to at least pilot something, put like an MVP out there so that you can get a bit of a crowd response. About crowd, I mean investors, I mean actual paying customer response to any product or service you want to deploy leveraging that technology.
Yeah, no, very interesting. So let's connect the dots here a little bit for people. I don't know, how much they understand this, so we want to make sure that we are providing enough details. So one thing that you mentioned overall from the quantum technology perspective that they need to know materials, physics. That's obviously 2D for a lot of people, who simply want to play with it, have fun with it, I guess, right? So, and then you also mentioned that Microsoft has these sandboxes, so that sounds more like software, right? That
Yeah.
they have access to some sort of software So where is the material coming in the picture? So is material going to be more of the application that using this technology you can probably analyze material properties and then change something, or the material is underneath, in the sandbox? So Microsoft has already created the quantum superpower, I guess, and you don't need to know the physics and science behind that. You simply need to utilize that. So where is the material coming in this?
I'll be honest. I don't work in the bioscience or
Yeah,
pharmaceutical space, so I don't want to speak out of term there. But I'd imagine, like just the way that you described it, like a strong use case is that there's a quantum analytic tool
yeah,
that you would put under some you evaluate or assess some existing property for,
yeah,
maybe use the power of some large language model to let it know what you want to accomplish, and now ta-da, voila, it's produced or giving you instructions on
yep,
how to produce something that can move you closer to what your target what your target solution is. Like the sandboxes, I understand because I have not gotten a chance to fully engage it. Like I said,
yeah,
I'm going to be. I mean, I overheard conversations about data centers when I was presenting
yeah,
at the International Economic Development Council in Denver, and it just kind of a light bulb just went off, and I just
yeah,
dove right into this quantum to try to understand how it would make sense. And so to kind of, if you said short things up, I think that what quantum is right now, the kind of key takeaways that quantum is poised to reshape industries, and it's
yeah.
really critical for leaders to start thinking about integrating these advancements into their strategic planning. I think thinking about the use case again, like where does this make sense? Start reimagining what qualified talent looks like. Are there some principles of quantum, or are there some adjacent fields or skills that you need in house for whenever Q Day finally shows up? In the same manner, I mean, it's really knowing that companies that I want to reinforce those who invest early, act early on this. There's predictions that you can experience up to 40% faster innovation cycles, really positioning them to increase their surface area for market share and what have you. And again, take a look at the examples in the market. Um, you know, look at those Google, look at the Microsoft, look at the IBM I mentioned, and see take a look at those research papers and what they're actually doing right now, so that you can just get a, how do we say it, a spoonful version of what's happening.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't think we're going to go into a full sprint on this in 2025, but I do think that um, it is in your best interest to be at least intelligent enough to be dangerous whenever these challenges or opportunities present themselves.
No, great points, and we have some of the comments, so we are going to touch on some of those comments as well. Hopefully you can provide some insight there. So we have some people here, so thank you so much for joining, Kieran. And then we have Bill, and Bill is saying leveraging the cutting edge power of quantum computers, we can unlock the world's vast data. Yes, he's right. Transforming complex problems into actionable insights at unprecedented speeds. Could not agree more. I mean, there is definitely, I mean, data is where the play is. Obviously, we are doing a lot more with data from the AI perspective, but quantum is going to be a game at a very different level.
Oh yeah.
Right? So maybe describe a little bit more in terms of do you agree with Bill? I don't know if you agree. So provide your commentary if you agree, disagree, or whatever else you can provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with him entirely. And in fact, one of the model that I worked on codifying for Blank Slate is called the Hits Matrix model. And so it's focused on human centricity, innovation, transformation, and secure sustainability. And what he's speaking to is that S in the acronym, that secure sustainability, where this that because that data as it gets unlocked, now how do we keep it safe? What type of protocol, what type of provisions do we have in place to protect it? And I'm borrowing from that because he put a comment about cybersecurity as well. That's triggered. That's making my light bulb go off for me. As we are in an information economy, we're in we're in right now. Any once Q Day presents
Yeah.
itself, again, anything that is public information, anything that is being sent across the World Wide Web is officially vulnerable. So, giving some thought right now to how we can leverage. I know we're seeing the opportunity, but like, how do we also use this quantum power as a bit of our security guard in some of the, as we start thinking about like cyber crimes or sensitive information. Like I think about like our health records and what that means to be exposed. I think about people's financial information being available on dark webs or other places, and what quantum technology can do to fully prevent that or to catch it sooner. To identify some of the parameters for like um a security challenge. I don't know. I don't remember the number right off, but I know that cybersecurity is costing businesses and governments by the billions. And so being able to throw some throw, but to make a strategic investment in this type of technology, again, could really put some sound muscle behind your business, and I think even give your customers a lot more confidence in doing business with you. And I think in a post quantum world, I'm going to want to know that you have the proper security provisions in place so that, again, my information isn't vulnerable, and that I can feel most confident with transacting, exchanging information, and doing business.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it is going to be a Q-Day junior or senior, but hopefully we are not giving ideas to these spam callers and they are going to call, hey, Q-Day is coming, give me your credit card right.
Well, we'll know after this call if we're going to get some spam email.
Okay, some more comments here. Let's touch on those. Okay, and but I completely agree with whatever you said related to cybersecurity. I mean, there is always. I mean, these are serious risks. Okay, so Bill has one more comment here. So he's saying that we have been looking at this technology for how to advance cybersecurity to understand attack paths. What happens when you can unlock all of the world's data in seconds? So there is something to it, right? I mean, he's very deep.
I mean, unlocking it is one thing, but I think what I'm concerned about is processing and applicability power. Like I said, unlocking it, having access, is kind of like, I mean, my marketer side. I'm always thinking about prospecting and how I scrape data, to make context and what have you for to to grow my practice. But once you have that great spreadsheet of information, now you actually have to do something with it. Now
Yeah.
the speed and rate at which you do that in a positive or negative manner is what we really need to put our interest in, our concerns. And so um, I think that it could be very interesting depending on which of the world's data we're trying to unlock.
Yeah.
I think about a lot of like redacted government documents. I imagine our hackers wanting to take some interest and stake in those type of things immediately. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I want to respond to that fully because I want to bake on that. That is a scary, I think, thing to think
Yep.
about, because right now we convince ourselves that even when we lock our doors that we're safe. And so I think it's one of those type of paradoxes, like you're kind of safe and unsafe at the same time, because if someone can muscle the door down or has an instrument to knock it down, inserts vulnerability. So I imagine it's kind of living in that same space.
Yeah, great insights there. And Bill is trying to propose some of the resources here, and this is coming from Yale, I guess. And I don't know where Yale versus MIT, and I don't mean to start Yale versus MIT war right now. I don't know where they stand. Number one, number two, junior, senior. But this is a great resource, and he's talking about this is the and I'm going to read it for our audio audience as well. So this is going to be quantum quantum institute dot yale dot edu, and he's talking about, and I don't know if that is a white paper. Bill, maybe if you have more insights, maybe you can provide that. And I don't know if you have looked at this one. I know that you research a lot on MIT content. I think you quoted that in your article as well, right, Karen?
I did, yeah. I touched on it just mildly, really about their how MIT and NIST are on the front lines right now for some of this research and also with some deployment of some different use case and applications. But equally, I don't want to start an MIT Yale war, so I will read that Yale publication silently.
You guys are going to get QA. MIT, you. I'm only getting QA junior. You guys are getting senior. Okay, so Bill has some more comments here. It's really investing heavily in quantum, and he has one article from IBM. And I don't know if if you have had a chance to research on IBM. IBM is always ahead, especially very deep into technology, whatever they are going to have. They were always ahead in AI. So I'm pretty sure they are doing a lot in quantum as well. And I don't know if they are getting some of these government grants as well for this research. Yeah, but I mean, Bill is saying NY is investing. So NY as a state is investing. Is that what he's saying, or
Yeah, that's my interpretation. I mean, which I'm not surprised. I know that New York is doing a lot of work right now, which is reimagine the state for its workforce. And really, I mean, I think every region right now is wanting to recenter itself as a powerhouse. Nobody wants to be seen as this country's cost center. So you're trying to figure out how do we capitalize on growth? How do we get known for a thing? What is our capture right now? And so yeah, I'm not shocked at that at all.
yeah? And we need to you talk to some of the folks in St. Louis, I guess. What is happening with this New York? Okay, we need to be ahead.
Yeah, St. Louis is doing this thing. I know that there was a recent, I can't recall the organization, but there is a new data center that's being organism purchase it's going to serve as a data place. Now, do I know what that full application looks like
Yeah.
right now? No, but I think that is a strong signal that it is looking to that the region is looking to be at the core of being a repository for processing and storage, which I think is already like a leap years ahead of many others who are not playing in the space.
Okay, amazing. So let's cover some more comments, quickly because we are coming close to our time as well. So Bill, okay, I'm glad that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining. And Kieran, he has Watson kicked this all off by beating Jeopardy. I think he's right. That was a fun time, and I don't know whether IBM still has the market share. Obviously, they were very ahead from the technical capabilities perspective, but they are never as ahead in business. I mean, people sort of take advantage of whatever they have done, I guess.
No, actually, I did touch on that in the article as well. About there was a example of IBM and the Singapore's
Yeah,
management university,
yeah.
and how they leveraged this technology to optimize some risk on the supply chain. So don't sleep on IBM.
They are always ahead.
They're doing what they need to do.
Okay, so we have one more comment here. So IBM understands the fabrics, and Google is good at deep learning. Do you agree with this comment?
I do. And again, it really bleeds into my earlier statement about how we are in a more, I think, like ecosystem partner driven marketplace where even recognizing those type of capabilities, I can see some strong partnership coming because everyone's looking at cost efficiencies. How can we do it quicker, cheaper, and make the most massive impact? And so even like even recognizing that and not trying to be the thing of all things is going to be core for business success and for in a quantum senior world.
Okay, amazing, amazing insights. And by the way, we just have 3 minutes right now. And Kyron, I know that you're kind of a motivational speaker as well, right? So I want to make sure you have enough time for the real, closing speech, I guess. So if you are going to have any sort of closing advice for people, let's say if they are taking on the journey of quantum or they are simply curious, what advice are you going to have? And obviously, then how can people find you if they are going to have any sort of questions afterwards, or if you have any sort of resources that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if I want to give myself the title of motivational speaker, but I do like to speak truth to purpose. Um, I think my closing thought again. Think fast, move fast, test. Get your feet wet. I think that there's no better time than now to transform an industry, to transform your life, or to make a small incremental investment that could pay dividends for multi-generations. And I think that this AI, quantum, high hyper tech ecosystem that we're navigating right now is primed for that. I would argue that anyone that's leaders, learners, whoever you are in the ecosystem, really get an appetite for learning, appetite for lifelong learning, appetite for continuous learning, and invest in growing yourself, invest in growing in partnership, and really so you can properly navigate this industry 5.0 that's around the corner. And those will be my closing thoughts. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to look me up. You can also drop me a note. I'm nervous now that I brought up all the hacking stuff. I want to get my email, but if you follow me on social, I'm certainly happy to connect. And again, if you want to visit www.theblankslate.us, grab some time with me. Happy to connect and find out how we can make a quantum leap collectively. So I'll pause there.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to take the motivational speaker title, I'll happily take that. It's just that I have not figured out, how to motivate people. I'll take the title though.
Comment.
On that note, thank you so much once again for your time and insight. Super powerful. Enjoyed talking to you. And guys, if you joined, this was part of our podcast series for which we meet every Friday. We are going to bring many exciting guests in the near future. So make sure you guys stay tuned for the future episodes as well. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.